This car is only sold in China, so why are we previewing it? This has been made by Xiaomi, and Xiaomi, as you know, is a smartphone maker. It's one of the biggest in India. In fact, 1 out of every 5 smartphones sold in India is a Xiaomi, and this is the first car that the tech giant from China has built in a record time of 3 years. This is the Xiaomi SU7. It's a 4-door, 5-seater super saloon. It is a C-segment saloon, so competes with the likes of a Skoda Octavia or a BYD Seal. The car is nearly 5 meters long. The wheelbase alone is 3000 millimeters, which is actually more than even a Toyota Innova Crista. The minimum ground clearance is as low as 124 millimeters, but it can be raised by 40 mm of air suspension. And one of its biggest flex in terms of space is the luggage carrying capacity. It has a healthy 517-liter rear trunk plus a very useful 105-liter storage under the bonnet. This trunk is one of the biggest for an EV this size. A SU7 definitely looks premium. The front features teardrop headlights with a complex LED unit, muscular front wheel arches with 21-inch wheels, a sloping silhouette with a wide halo tail lamp design on the rear hatch. There are complex movable aerobits such as active air intakes in the front bumper and an electronically operated rear wing spoiler. The chassis has been developed in-house and is claimed to be tough yet lightweight with the use of steel and aluminium. It uses double wishbone suspension at the front and a 5-link independent suspension at the rear. Most of its electrical system uses silicon carbide, which is very high efficiency. It is a skateboard design, so battery is part of the stressed chassis and not an add-on. This helps with structural rigidity as well. The battery is sourced from Chinese company CATL. Xiaomi claims that it has also managed a 50-50 weight distribution between the front and rear axles of the SU7, which is, by the way, rated for 5 stars in regional crash test ratings. So you might say the design is inspired by certain brands from the US and Germany, but in person it looks really impressive. It has the right proportions, and one of the reasons why it could look pleasing to your eye as well is because the designers say that they followed a golden ratio thumbnail to decide proportions of the car, the width versus the height, the way the wheelbase is spread out, and in that sense it really looks cool. Back home, the car is available in 3 variants, and just like phones, they are named as SU7, SU7 Pro and SU7 Max. The difference is in the battery packs and the resulting range. The standard version gets a 73.6 kWh battery pack for a 700 km claimed range. Pro gets a 94.3 kWh battery with an 830 km range. Max gets an 800 km range with the biggest battery of 101 kWh. The latter has dual motors, is tuned to go faster, hence the slight drop in overall range. Now there are high voltage platforms, 400 or 800 volts. Xiaomi claims that 400 volts can offer 138 km range in just 5 minutes of charging, while 15 minutes can offer 350 kilometers. 5 minutes of charging the 800 volt version gives 220 km range, while 15 minutes can give as high as 510 kilometers. The 800 volts is for the Max version. Charging time sounds too good to be true? Well, the catch is that these times are only possible when charging at the company's supercharging station network, which features a 600 kilowatt fast chargers. In India, the average is currently around 25 kilowatt. It also offers 7 and 11 kilowatt home chargers, and in an emergency it can also be plugged into a regular 2.8 kilowatt internal home power socket or a 3.5 kilowatt external one. In the standard form, a single motor SU7 makes nearly 290 brake horsepower. The SU7 Max showcased here has a dual motor. Together, it makes 664 bhp and 838 Nm of torque at its peak. The max power comes in boost mode, which can be operated out of a physical switch on the steering wheel. Xiaomi claims 0 to 100 km/h time of just 2.78 seconds for this, helped by active aerobits and a surreal 0.195 coefficient of drag, which is extremely low. A SU7 can do 0 to 200 kph in 10.67 seconds, which is better than the 0 to 100 time of almost 80% of cars on Indian roads. It has a claimed top speed of 265 km/h. The regular and the Pro version has a top speed of 210. It of course has disc brakes all round, can stop the car from 100 kph to standstill in 33.3 meters, which is decent on paper, but we would have liked it to be better. The actual deceleration nature will be best known after driving. And this is how you open the Xiaomi SU7. Impressive? Now this is a big car, so the interiors feel fairly spacious. You're sitting low like in a sports car. And if you look at the interiors, the biggest thing on the dashboard is this massive screen, plus this rather simple flat bottom steering wheel that they have. Now there are only 2 physical buttons on this, and again, the performance aspect of the car. The button here is for a boost that gives you a performance boost in terms of getting you max power to the range of 673 PS, which is around 664 brake horsepower. And the other one is to change the drive modes between economy, sport and sport plus. In all, there are 5 screens that are possible in SU7. The main touchscreen, of course, the instrument cluster, a rather sleek one, a massive 56-inch heads-up display. It's probably the biggest that you've probably seen on any other car. Plus, you can have add-on screens at the rear. And by virtue of it, you can sync in the screens. Most of the car functions need to be done via this screen. This particular model only has Chinese language, so cannot comment on how intuitive this unit is. But it seemed fast and colorful. There are some basic function toggle switches on the center console. There are 3 interesting bits from the driver's perspective. First is a rotating instrument cluster that greets when you sit in the car. Second, there is a massive 56-inch heads-up display. Together, these give the driver all the information needed. Third is that the driver and even the co-driver headrest has integrated speaker to take private calls, so it doesn't interfere with the 25-speaker music system in the car. The seats have multi-layer cushioning and come with Napa leather finish. This top spec also has Alcantara at places such as the roof trim. All seats are ventilated and come with active cushioning on the side to hold the occupants in place. There are multiple storage places inside, such as a big glove box and umbrella holders in the front doors. Fast wireless charging pads for smartphones are standard, obviously. Also standard are 7 airbags. By the fact that a lot of cars in India in this segment are chauffeur driven, if you were to be sitting behind in a Xiaomi SU7, well, there's a lot of comfort and a lot of space behind by the virtue of it being a really long car. The seat itself is very plush, it's ventilated, but the controls are only in the front. You can't control them from behind. If there is anything missed, then it's probably that there's not enough under thigh support because the floor is a little higher. But in terms of hip room, in terms of headroom, it seems pretty spot on. A cool feature for the rear is a refrigerator that can both cool and heat. It is cleverly packaged under the front center console and can slide open at the rear. Easy to do that when the center seat is not occupied. The floor at the rear though is flat, so no problem with foot-room in case that seat is occupied. Apart from that, there are add-ons where you can put in the screens and the seats in front of you. The quality seems really good for a car that has been made by a first-time car manufacturer. They've really got the kind of colors used, the kind of textures used, and even the fit and finish is pretty spot on, like any manufacturer that has been in the business for a long time. I also like the fact that it has a permanently tinted full glass ceiling. The SU7 doors are frameless in true GT style. Also, like ultra luxury cars, they are soft touch close and can be opened by the touch of a button. In its first generation, a Xiaomi SU7 has the distinction of having level 2 ADAS. It has 11 cameras all around with 16 driver assist features as standard across the range. These are available in 2 packages, Pilot Pro and Pilot Max. The latter has additional radar at the rear and a larger, faster processor. The car gets preset modes for ADAS as well, City Pilot Assist, Highway Pilot Assist and even self-parking, which they call valet parking. Here is a fun fact. India was the first country outside of China where Xiaomi started selling smartphones less than a decade ago. Coincidentally, the SU7 is currently only being sold in China. So will India be the first country outside of China to get it? Well, it may not be so simple now given the complexities of a car business as compared to a smartphone and also the different geopolitical situation today compared to 2016-17. With a growing demand in China itself for the SU7, it may make sense for Xiaomi to focus on their domestic market for the next couple of years at least. Xiaomi started selling its phone in India only after it was clear that it could also make them in India. So that alone could be a trigger for this car to be sold here as well. It already seems like great value for money. All of this is available at an equivalent of 25.4 lakh for the standard variant, going up to 28.9 lakh for the Pro and rupees 35.25 lakhs for the Max back in China. To add to this, the car is packed with features and looks phenomenally quick. The design may be inspired, but it clearly looks the part. Good enough to not ignore just in case if it does come to India.